Welcome guys to another episode of Boom Arena. Today I'm not gonna be actually playing too much. This episode will be focused on building your own deck in Boom Arena. First of all, I want to already tell you that there are many good decks that may suit your playstyle in the future that you may want to pick up. You can obviously check them at boomapi.ca. It's very good and well made API that stores many games from Boom Arena, and you can probably find that deck that you're searching for there, so you can just get a lot of medals. There are decks from any players, there are decks from top players, best scoring decks, most used decks, everything in between. So in today's video though, we were gonna be focusing on building our own deck. So from 71 cards, obviously some are better and some are worse for our purpose of building decks. So the first decision that you have to make in order to build a very good, strong and well-rounded deck will be picking a win condition. And to being very short and specific, win condition is your way to get damage over time. So if you're gonna sit around, defend and don't deal any damage, you will most likely lose because your opponent will eventually get some damage and you will lose in the tiebreaker. So there are some ways to deal damage. You can, for instance, play a Super Ape, which is right here, and Super Ape will be very good at being just placed constantly. So if you can get a huge lock with it, it usually will win you the game instantly, but Super Ape is usually played in another way that it's very easy card to stop actually, and that's why you want to play it very often. For instance, another playstyle which I'm gonna be settling in this video, it's gonna be Brute, and Brute will be a very good card to just put in the back, put some support troops behind it, and kill your opponent in one go. Usually, that's how Brute games look like. If a Brute gets caught up in a very long macro game where many trades happen, it's usually not a good game for Brute. Brute wants to just build one push and win with it and close the game instantly, because, well, if you commit a very lot of mana to Brute, eventually you will be very vulnerable to counterplay, and if you don't close the game, the counterplay will be very hard to stop. So, okay, so first pick will be Brute, and then the next question that you want to ask yourself is, yeah, I'm placing Brute in the back, and if this Brute connects onto the tower, it's gonna deal a lot of damage. Also, Brute has a lot of HP, so we can abuse that by putting some good troops behind it, so the Brute tanks for them and they can either support it to go to the tower, or they can simply get more value because Brute is alive. So in this example, I'm gonna be focusing on some playstyle that are very common with Brute. First of all will be a Mother Devil. So Mother Devil is good with Brute because she spawns devils, and these devils are hiding behind Brute, serving two purposes. Either they are just supporting Brute, killing all the swarms, all the smaller cards, also the counter air, and the second purpose is if the devils are uncontested, even if Brute dies, they usually will be very far advanced on the map and will very likely to connect onto the tower. So that's why Mother Devil is usually played with Brute. Another very common synergy is Balloon. So why Balloon is very strong with Brute? Because obviously Balloon has a relatively low HP. I mean, it can take the tower on its own, but usually it takes only like stone fonts to already stop it. So it's like a positive 3 trade for a defender. So Balloon usually wants to be tanked by something, and Brute is just the best tank in the game. Like it has the most HP for the cost. So that's why Brute is very stroke with balloon, because once balloon connects, it pretty much takes the tower down or deals enough damage to close the game. That's why these two are paired very well, and we're gonna move to the next synergy. It's gonna be a brute with some support cards like Mother Skeleton, and we're gonna stick with that in today's video. Mother Skeleton is very well paired with Brute for the same exact reason as a Mother Devil. It's because she spawns skeletons, and usually skeletons are very quick to die to the tower, but since they are behind the Brute, they will survive and they will force your opponent to either play a splash card on them or constantly play some spells. And my ideology, at least, is that if you have to use spells, you are usually losing, so you're just putting yourself in a very good spot. So we're gonna stick to that combo, and the rest of the cards will be supplementing our push or preventing our opponent to get a push. So very good beginning point after these two is ask yourself, can your cards kill tanks? So in case your opponent runs the Brute yourself, can your deck withstand? And the answer is yes, but no. Mother Skeleton is very good at stopping Brute, but once she gets her skeletons taken out, she has very low damage output, and that's why we're gonna put some high damage card. And we can put a longsword or a drunker, and to be honest, both options. We can also put a Fawn King, and all of these options are fine. For simplicity reasons, I'm gonna put a longsword because it's like the card that is designed just to deal damage. Like Fawn King is very good at pushing himself, so he can be paired with this offensive combo. But since our plan will be to push with Brute and Mother Skeleton, once again I'm mixing, the longsword will be the card exclusively saved for a defense. So we can counter the ground tanks. How about the air tanks? And the answer is, as previously, we have a Mother Skeleton which can deal with them. Not the best response though, so we will gonna have to add one more thing, and this thing will be, I believe it's actually good to add some air cards. So air cards get less value than ground cards at with the same mana against the tower, but air cards obviously have this advantage that you cannot counter them with ground cards that easily, and thus you have to use a better response. And with this deck we need some cards that fly, because, well, we can use some more ground cards to counter air, but the air cards in this case will be also supplementing an offensive. So imagine, for instance, a Brute paired with Devils. Our opponent is already faced with a 8 mana push, and he has to defend very well not to die in the next push out. So the choices will be like Super Devil, will be Devils, will be Devil Horde. I'm also considering Helicopter, but out of these four, I think we can already exclude the Helicopter, because Helicopter has a very low damage output, and its best asset, like if you imagine the perfect helicopter you can play in your entire game, is gonna be a helicopter that stays alive in the middle of the board and just shoots at everything at all times. Like, that's the best case scenario. It's just giving you the better traits, so you can instantly attack your opponent, and if your opponent defends, these troops will die to this helicopter. So our plan is to just kill our opponent in one go, and with this purpose Devil Horde suits way better. But Devil Horde is a very expensive card, and that's another thing you have to be worried about when building a deck. You cannot go too high up. Like, my rule of thumb is, if you go above 4.0 average mana, you usually have to have a very good reason to do so, and since we don't have a good reason yet, we will stick to some devils. We can obviously play a super devil, but Devils will complement our deck way better because not only they are very good on defense, they will also serve well on the offense. The only drawback is that they are gonna be very vulnerable to bullets, and that's why we'll have to be very careful by playing them in the future. So another question that we'll have to ask ourselves by building a deck is if we have a splash card. And once again, we have a splash card. It's a Mother Skeleton, but it's the splash that we want to use in our push and not on defense. So on defense we can play many splash cards. We can play Bomb Girl, we can play Bomber, we can play Piercing Archer, we can play T-Rex, we can play Bomberman. So out of all of these, I think the two best suiting combos are gonna be either Bomber or the T-Rex, and you can honestly pick whichever you like the most. I'm gonna pick the T-Rex for the simple reason it's gonna be also supplementing our attack, and it's gonna be a 2 mana more expensive, but it's usually good because with the Bomber you pretty much cannot counter attack. Like, it's not such a good supplement. Usually you play the Bomber to just die on defense, but fulfill its job by defending the card, whereas T-Rex can be a reason that you want to be playing more aggressively, and it's just the more versatile card than Bomber, so we're gonna put it in our deck. The next card that we want to think about is building, and there are obviously two choices. You can play with building or without building. The choice is absolutely up to you. In this case, I would love to play without building since we're gonna just pushing and killing our opponent in one go, but just for the educational purpose I'm gonna put one. And now is the question, which building is the best? And there are actually two types of buildings. There are buildings that spawn stuff, and there are buildings that shoot stuff. And in our case, I think the building that spawns stuff will be a better choice for the reason that these troops will be helpful for our counter push. And if we can counter push with our, for instance, if we were to play a Footman Hut, and this Footman Hut would, for instance, drop 2 Footmen that will survive, and we were to put Brute in front of them. Right now, our opponent cannot that easily counter our Brutes, so I think the Footman Hut will be the best choice, although there's another choice that you have to consider and is as good because it has its own set of advantages. It's gonna be Skeleton Hut. Skeleton Hut obviously is way more I mean, it's not way more solid, but it's more versatile on defense, and the only thing that it lacks is that counter push element, and that's why we're gonna choose a Footman Hut. And right now the last two spots in our deck will be spells. Usually, as a good rule of thumb, you want to keep one strong and one weak spell, and these spells usually are the complementary to what your deck does not do. So since we have already this deck combined, we can already see that we have some Air Splash, we have some very hard hitting units, we have some Air Swarms, we have some Ground Swarms, and since we have that, we usually don't have to worry about the Devil Horde since we have a T-Rex. We also don't have to worry against some Skeleton Hordes because we have Mother Skeleton, so we are gonna choose Blitz, and I'm gonna choose Blitz for the reason that it has a stun, and usually if you are attacking and can use very good Blitz stun at a key moment, you will just win the game. So for instance, let's say your opponent's Dark Knight has to jump on your Mother Skeleton, but you will use a Blitz, and this 1 second stun will allow for Mother Skeleton to be protected by some other card. That's why I'm gonna just play this card and not the other. Obviously, Footman Barrel would be also a good choice since we don't have really an answer against Von Keg. the best response against Funkek right now without Footman Kek will be Devils, and we will take the damage every time. But since we are gonna at some point build a push that is gonna kill our opponent in one go, it's absolutely okay with us. So we're gonna put a Blitz, and right now we can either... It's like the 8th spell, and this 8th spell will be either a big spell or some trick spell. And by big spell, I think the best suiting spell for this reason will be the Poison, since our deck relies on surviving for a long time. We usually want to supplement it with the spell that lasts for a long time and can weaken our opponents over time. So Poison will be the good choice of a big spell, and a trick spell usually involves Rage or Freeze, and either of these is good in this case. If I were to build this deck, I would put the Madness, because it just supplements very well with Mother Skeleton, and Freeze is better with like cards that want to hit the tower. So for instance, like Freeze very well pairs with a Symmetry or Balloon, because Symmetry obviously has to be tanked, and if you don't have tank, you have Freeze to tank from the tower, and Balloon has a low HP, and it can pair with Madness or Freeze as good, but obviously one of them is better, and you usually see Balloon more with the Freeze. That being said, you can put this trick spell, but for elementary reasons I'm gonna put the Poison here, and that's gonna be our deck that we are gonna right now use on ladder, how to play with it. So we're gonna meet the Mysterious Might, we're gonna throw for him Nice Play, and right now we're gonna just test our deck in the fields, and it looks like we're gonna actually get a Steel Bait, so that's the unfortunate matchup that we were saying earlier we don't want to see, but well, unfortunately we will have to, and we will play a Brute in the back. It's not usually a good play to play Brute in the back, but since we didn't have a obvious counterplay, I'm gonna just play it right here, and right now we're gonna just go with the attack. Our T-Rex will lock onto the cannon. We will use the Blitz right now to kill this cannon faster, and this Brute will pose some trouble on his tower. He will have to play another Swordman, and that's not very good for us, but we have some momentum, and right now he has to be a bit on defense. We're gonna right now play a Longsword to defend this Funkek, and we're gonna be playing another Brute, and we're gonna counter this Bomb Girl. So it's gonna be obviously a tough matchup for us, because we are facing the archetype that we don't have the best responses against, but we will have to do our best. So we're just down in damage very much, and it is actually the double mana where our deck is better than his. I think if we were to pick Madness, this game could have already ended at some point, but since we didn't, it's gonna actually suck a little. We're gonna play a Blitz on this Tiny, and yeah, our tower will just go down, because we're just playing the deck that, he has just a better composition against us. This is to be expected, that he's getting more damage. We're gonna be playing a Mother Skeleton on the opposite side, and we're gonna be playing Longsword for this Bomb Girl to hopefully eliminate them. This Bomb Girl will probably fall, and okay, not to Longsword, but it will fall now, and right now we're gonna be playing a Brute. And right now the thing that I'm thinking is that he's gonna play his Keg very soon, so we're gonna just play it out right here. Right now I'm gonna play a Longsword to kill this Swordman, and I'm gonna be playing another Brute, and unfortunately we're gonna lose this game because our Brutes are just not fast enough. We've got a good push out at the end. He even has a mirror, so that was a bit of a bummer. He got a very good matchup against us, but yeah, we're gonna play one more game to prove that our deck actually works. Alright, so we're gonna get another match against him. This time we will have to be way more careful. Also, the thing that was very fortunate for him was that he was very aggressive from the beginning, and obviously that's a very good thing for him, because he just got a very good strategy against us from the very start, and he just kept going. So I would say not okay. Not right now. We will have to sacrifice this damage, and I'm gonna try to beat up his cards very quickly. He's gonna play a double swordman, which will promptly take care of my troops. I'm gonna right now try to bridge spam him and try to make his responses very uncomfortable. I'm gonna use Blitz to keep this dragon be alive for a little bit longer. I'm gonna take the damage lead, but I think he can retaliate very quickly, and yeah, that's gonna be very good start for us actually. We're gonna be obviously playing a Devils against this Fonkek. Like I said, it's like the best response in our deck against it, because it's very solid, and it's gonna get the job done no matter what our opponent does, unless he like predict arrows us, but it's very unlikely. I'm gonna play a poison right here. Our longsword will skip, and thus we're gonna get it on the tower, and right now we're gonna just get a very lucky connection. So that's exactly what our deck is designed for. It's gonna be these very quick pushes that if we catch our opponent off guard, he's gonna literally die and will be left without a response. So I'm gonna play a longsword against this Fonkek. Like I've said, it's not the best response, but our opponent committed a lot of mana to that, so we're gonna be absolutely cool. I'm gonna be playing Devils right now against this. Probably not the best call, because we have to focus more on attacking, and that's why I'm gonna be playing another Mother Skeleton. It looks like he played a lot of rolling steals, so he's gonna take care of our Mother Skeleton eventually. And yeah, this game honestly was very lucky for us, because we've got everything we wanted from our opening. Right now I'm gonna try to just not die from the barrels, and that was a good game. So even though he had a good matchup against us, it didn't work out this time. We take the dub, and that's pretty much how this deck works. I hope you guys enjoyed this video about building decks. Obviously this deck is not completely viable. It was more of a instructional video if you want to put yourself a very good, well-rounded deck. Obviously we can improve that, and that's gonna be topic for another video. So make sure to hit subscribe button if you want to see the follow-up for that. And yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'm gonna see you guys in another episode of Boom Arena.